Hello, Guardians. Guardian of Stories here, coming to you with a very late video. I apologize. Was having difficulties with some editing with the for one of my other videos I'll be putting out. Had to reload a save and all that. It was basically just a lot of glitchiness. Had to fix it, but yeah. Not going to say which video it was, but just it was some glitchiness, unfortunately. So I'm a bit behind, so I'm just going to do this today. Not today, tonight, whatever. You get my point. Uh, Sorry, my dog's being annoying right now. You'll be seeing this video, obviously, um, and it is going to be the my Naruto, the long format showcase of my Naruto video, which you have already seen by this point. Hopefully, the essentially compilation for this character on the YouTube Shorts that I made. If you haven't, well, then this is going to be the long format version. It's not going to be the exact same script or anything like that. It's going to be literally off the top of my head. Now, this obviously, as you can see, the book name is Shadow of the Uchiha, the Red Flash. So as you can obviously understand, A, this is a Naruto book. B, the main character of this book is an Uchiha. I'd say that's pretty obvious. Once again, as always, I don't own the art I'm using for the covers and stuff. I'm not making money off this. I'm not trying to. This is just something I thought was neat, and I don't have the ability to commission artists at the moment. So when I have the ability to do so, or I can successfully draw my own art, I will use that. I'll either do commissioned art or I will make my own art for my stuff. Until then, I'm using these images. Again, not my stuff. That's again not mine. I got this off of I think Google Images. I can't remember exactly. Now, the main character of this book, Shadow of the Uchiha, the Red Flash, is a personal OC of mine, Kiyozen Fuma-Uchiha. Now, the reason it's Fuma-Uchiha is because it's hyphenated specifically because he's not. When I first made the character, he wasn't officially a part of the Uchiha clan. More so, and the reason for that I'll get into in a little bit. Um, and this stuff I'm going to see if I can put a little bit more information on this one in comparison to what I put in the shorts, but I'm probably not going to be putting as much. But I'll put a little bit. I'm not going to be putting too much into it that I didn't already mention in the YouTube shorts, but I'll be putting at least a little bit in that I didn't already have. Now, let's get this started. Let's start with the details on this description. Kiyozen Fuma-Uchiha lives in the shadow of his father's clan. The master of the Uchiha clan and his father, the renowned Shakaku Uchiha, weigh heavily on young Kiyozen, forced to navigate the harshness of the shinobi world with only his grandfather, sensei, teammates, and an impudent upstart ninja named Naruto Uzumaki. Kiyozen is in for a hard life. Whether it be an attack on his home village of Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves, mass murderers and terrorists like Itachi Uchiha and the Akatsuki, or simple everyday problems like whether he's meant to be a ninja, does his crush like him, or will he get killed or go blind because of his eyes, Kiyozen must face it all and endure. But will he come out of it as himself? Or at all? Or will he come out alive at all? Or will he just become another shadow of the Uchiha clan? All he knows is that his destiny is held within a red flash. Now, I honestly personally like that little description. Now, as you can guess from this line, for those Naruto enthusiasts in my fans, let me fix that. Sorry, I'm a bit of a stickler for that stuff. Okay, how many spelling errors do I already have in here? Dang it. I'm going to add that to the dictionary already. Same with Itachi. As you can guess from this little bit of info, Kiyozen is going to eventually get a Mangekyo Sharingan in this book. I say books, it's going to be all one book. And also, as you can guess from the Akatsuki, for the most part, this book is. I'm not even saying for the most part, the Akatsuki get like all of one scene, and they're barely even mentioned at the end of Naruto. However, this book is going to cover both OG Naruto as well as Shippuden. It'll go all the way to the war arc. It will not continue into like Naruto the Last, nor into Boruto. If I ever do decide to do a Boruto story, that will be a separate story. However, I will say this: it's gonna. All I can say on that is I have had a character idea for Boruto, but I'm waiting for a bit more stuff to come out before I do anything. Now let's get into more on Kiyozen. As I had said before, Kiyozen, he's a like I said, he's an Uchiha, but he's also a Fuma. Let me get a bit more into his history though, and his background. Kiyozen is a contemporary of Naruto. He's maybe 2 years older. He is not meant to replace Naruto in the story. This is more his point of view of the events of Naruto. He is not going to replace someone like Sasuke or Naruto or even Sakura. He'll be added in some arcs. So, as an example, I'll tell you this much: two arcs that he'll most certainly be involved in are the two arcs that I can tell you right now he would most certainly be involved in. It's only two, just from OG Naruto. I'll give four arcs: two for OG Naruto, two for Shippuden. So I'm a bit scatterbrained and I'm stuttering a bit. My apologies. Um, the OG Naruto, the two arcs he will be involved in are going to be the Konoha Crush arc, as well as, and I'll add the tuning exams as a freebie, as well as um, the post Konoha Crush arc, which actually I can't remember. It's going to be when Itachi shows up and puts Sasuke into a Genjutsu. I can't remember what that was called. What arc of Naruto does Itachi first appear in? The Search for Tsunade arc, right? Search for Tsunade. I always separate those in my head when Sasuke and Kakashi get put into Genjutsu to when Naruto goes to look for Tsunade. I always split those up in my head, but the entire reason he goes there is to get Tsunade. Granted, part of the reason he was leaving in the first place was to collect Tsunade, but it was mostly just to get him out the village and go with, Jiraiya. But, yeah. Anyway, main thing here, so he's going to be involved in the Search for Tsunade arc as well. And the spoiler is, he'll be involved. He's not going to go with Jiraiya and Naruto. He will be. At the current moment, I don't have plans for him to go with Naruto and Jiraiya. That might change depending on how I feel. But for now, I'm mostly just keeping him up until Itachi leaves. That's where I'm keeping him there. I'm not going to have him join Naruto any further than that. I'm not going to have him be involved in that arc any further. Anything else that's in that arc, it will be entirely his point of view in the village. Now, for Shippuden, he will be involved in the Kazekage rescue arc. Okay. And two, he will definitely be involved in the war arc. Because, of course, he's going to be. Everybody is. But get my point. So these are arcs that he's going to be involved in. Of course, there's going to be some he's not. So, Land Waves, he is not involved. He's tertiarily involved in the tuning exams, but not really. He's really just like in the outskirts. Like he'll be outside the forest of death or watching from the stands in the final matches for the tuning exams. Um, he's not going to be in for most of Search for Tsunade. And like obviously for Shippuden, he's not going to be involved in. He's not going to be involved in like the battle in like the fated battle between brothers. He's not going to be involved in anything on Sasuke's missions. Heck, for Naruto's thing, he's not going to be involved when Naruto's training with the Toads, or when he is he's mostly not going to be involved in like he's not going to be entirely involved in he's not going to be involved in the Tenchi Bridge more than likely. That I might change. He might not. It's kind of flip flopping at the moment, but that's again half and half. Um, he's definitely not going to be involved for like most of them. He's not going to be entirely involved in the stuff for trying to go find Sasuke, for instance. Um, I will say this: he is a bit more involved in Shippuden in comparison to OG Naruto, just because he's going to be someone that's very useful by Shippuden, but he's not going to be as heavily involved. Um, Basically, he's not going to be involved in any scene in a lot of scenes where Naruto. Again, I'm trying not to replace Naruto or Sasuke. I don't like my characters to replace the main character of the series. Anyway, guys, I swear to God, if I'm losing my voice, I'm gonna be annoyed. All right, let me just calm down for a second. My apologies. All right. What was I? Right. So again, Kiyozen, he's not replacing things. He's sort of just another point of view. Um, some background on his family. The most Kyozen is once again a member of the Uchiha clan, but specifically, obviously, as you know, his father's name is Shokaku Uchiha. Now, that's also another character I've made, and his grandfather that's mentioned, again, another character that I myself have made. Kyogoro, Kyo, Kyogoro, Kyogoro, Kyo, Kyogoro. Fucking 1 second. Let me double check how I fucking spelled it so I know the pronunciation. I don't know why I'm messing up the pronunciation lately. I didn't used to. Where's my? Here it is. Hmm. Kyogoro, 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 Ky- Kyogoro, Kyogoro, called Kyogoro, Kyogoro Fuma, who in OG Naruto for most of the show and runtime, he is in fact the head of the current head of the Fuma clan at that time. The Fuma clan, by the way, this is the same Fuma clan that we see in Boruto, the one that take over the Konoha police force after the destruction of the Uchiha clan, after the massacre. Now, his father, now that's the Fuma clan section, and his mother obviously is the daughter of Kyogoro. His mother's name is Hanamaru Fuma. Um, Here's the thing. On Kyozen's father's side, Shokaku, his grandfather is Kagami Uchiha, which mean, and Kyozen specifically is the cousin of Shisui Uchiha. So he's from a decently prestigious lineage of Uchiha. Um, Originally, I had decided on Kyozen's father being Shisui's uncle, direct uncle, with the two with his and giving Shisui's father the name of Shinso Uchiha, and I had actually initially planned on having Shinso die during the mm, late second, maybe early third war, or maybe in the gap period between. However, then I read and saw then I saw a video from NCHammer23. He's a YouTuber that I follow. He does stuff on Naruto, a lot of stuff. Um, that said that, and I did double check this as well on the wiki, and Shisui's father canonically dies from illness, and he also had lost his leg in and I believe it was the second war. It's either the second or the third war, I believe. I can't exactly remember. However, um, however, and so that obviously gives some issue on what I want to do with that. Granted, I'll also be able to I can also just say, Shokaku had more than one sibling, and one of those siblings is obviously either Shisui's father or mother, and the other one is Shinso, who because the main thing is I wanted Shokaku to have a Mangekyo, though obviously I don't necessarily have to. I just felt it would be good to have. I just felt it would be good to have it there, just because I want to use it for a potential story beat later on. What happened to Shokaku's eyes? Because originally during the massacre, Shokaku's eyes are stolen. They're basically taken right out of his head after he dies, because he is killed in the massacre, just like Fugaku Uchiha, just like most of the clan is. Obviously by Tobi, aka Madara, aka Obito. He is killed by Obito. Um, Itachi's not the one that kills him; it's Obito, because Obito is strong enough to actually do it. Now, now going a bit more in the lineage. Kyozen, I haven't decided on how closely related he is to anyone else in the Uchiha clan. I've just decided, these are the people the people I've already mentioned are the ones he's directly related to. He's, I guess, technically a distant cousin of Sasuke, though I haven't decided on how distant. I'm not really going to mention that in the book, to be totally honest. 1 second. Let's see. Why did you just do that, you stupid thing? Sorry. Now, Kyozen does have some other family, I but those I'll probably bring up later on in the book. I'll probably mention that later. Now, the reason Kyozen has the surname Fuma-Uchiha instead of just Uchiha or just Fuma is because when Kyozen was born, his mother and father weren't married. Um, at the time, his father was going had and his father had been in a previous marriage that had ended young because his wife had been killed in the Second War, right? So yeah, his wife had died like either at the end of the Second War or in the interim period between the Second and Third War. So no wife, and his son had also died. He had a child, but his child died. Did die relatively. Did also die. One of the many younger casualties of the Third War. Um, his now here's the thing. Or yeah, here's the thing. Kyozen was very much an oops kid. This is something that's going to be mentioned eventually. It doesn't really matter. It's not hugely important. Um, Kyozen is in fact an oops child. His father was in the Anbu Shokaku, but after the death of his son, his first son, uh, wasn't very. He wasn't in a good headspace. As a matter of fact, he got kicked off the Anbu. He outright he was kicked out. Whereas Kakashi was essentially gently retired from the Anbu. Essentially, like, hey, you've done well, but you'll serve us better in this role. Shokaku kind of got that, but it was more a case of you become a bit of a liability. Get your head on straight. Get it. Leave the Anbu. You become a bit of a liability, and we need you doing something else. Because basically, his dad had almost purposefully had almost basically Shokaku almost messed up a mission on almost intentionally did so. He didn't actually mess it up, but he had intended to mess it up because he wanted an excuse to just end things with a roll of paper bombs. Uh, Obviously, thankfully, didn't happen. But his dad obviously got sent out of the Anbu and went into a very depressive alcoholism spiral. Eventually, someone to help pull him out of that was Kyozen's mother, Hanamaru. Hanamaru basically started helping him get over his alcohol, get through things, and just tried to help stop his alcoholism. Though one night, eventually, on the anniversary of his first son's death, they both ended up drinking. One thing led to another. They had a drunken one night stand, and Hanamaru, about 2 months later, realizes she's pregnant. She conf- she and her father confront Shokaku about it, and this revelation snaps Shokaku into finally doing something. He doesn't completely stop cold turkey doing drinking. He tries, doesn't manage it, but he is able to give it up within about 2 years, and does drastically cut down how much he drinks. He does drastically manage it to basically cut out alcohol from his life afterwards, and he becomes a very good father for Kyozen. However, and he does end up marrying Hanamaru afterwards. Well, technically, he and Hanamaru get married before Kyozen is born, but it's also very obvious that Hanamaru is obviously pregnant. So everyone knew, okay, slight bit of a scandal, but it's okay-ish. Though there was some mutterings from the older Uchiha clan members the more like isolationist ones that didn't think Kiyozen was even an Uchiha, especially because he kept the Fuma clan moniker as well on because of Kyogoro's insistence, because he was not happy with Shokaku. He didn't really like him as a son-in-law. Now, as seen in the prologue, um, yes, save changes, thank you. As is seen in prologue part one, Kyozen's mother unfortunately dies during the Nine-Tailed attack. Kyozen's about 3-ish years old. He's maybe not quite 3. He's about maybe 3 years. So he's not 2 years older. He's a little over. He's around 2.5 to 3 years older than Naruto. No, I think it's like he's roughly 2.5 months older than Sasuke. 3 years older than Naruto. Actually, I don't remember how old is. Let's see. One second. Let me look this up. I don't know why I'm forgetting this, but whatever. See, when's Sasuke's birthday? Not the year, because the same year but different months. He's a few months older. So he is a July kid, and Naruto is. I think Naruto's a. If I remember correctly, Naruto is a October kid. Yes, October. And go away, advertisements. No one likes you. July. So you have August, September, October. So about 3 months. Okay, so not quite as big of a gap as I thought. Close, close, close. Anyway, Kiyozen, he's around 3 years older than Sasuke and Naruto, give or take. I'll just say he's about 3 years older than Naruto, a little under 3 for Sasuke. I'll say that. So, at this point, and again, with Kiyozen, um, he's about 3 years old, so he does unfortunately somewhat remember the events of the Nine-Tails attack. Specifically, he remembers a lot of the fear of it. And as is shown in the prologue, in the first part, that night is when Kiyozen unlocks his Sharingan out of fear. The fear that he feels in that fighting and all of that during the absolute terrifying, basically throughout all the terrifying nature of that event caused him to manifest a Sharingan. I know sometimes the Sharingan isn't entirely a thing of fear. It's mostly like either love or pain and anger, but I'm also adding fear onto that because I just feel like it. And again, it's also the night he loses his mother. He's terrified. He's clinging to Shokaku while the Uchiha clan is being forced to hold back and just protect the villagers instead of helping subdue the Nine Tails, which is something which the tensions with the Uchiha clan and all that are things that will be explored in this book a bit more. I do bring some of that up with some of the Uchiha clan members being a bit, actively questioning in the moment, like, why aren't we doing this? Why is Lord Third ordering us to not, help? Where's Lord Fourth? Why aren't we allowed to help? If we could stop the freaking Nine Tails, you know? And yeah. Okay, now I do remember though actually Shokaku does in fact have a Mangekyo already by the Nine Tails, so I'm gonna keep that as a thing. I'll iron out how he gets it later. I'll fully iron that out later. Now, just as a bit of a just for a little bit more on things. Kyozen is going to be, like I said, Kyozen's going to be involved in a lot. There's some things he's not going to be involved in, others that he is. Obviously, you already know Kyozen, he's going to end up losing all of his immediate family. By Konoha Crush, his grandfather is also going to die there, and that's going to be how Kyozen does eventually manifest his own Mangekyo, which this is the Mangekyo design that I decided to give him. I will not state what his abilities are just yet, but they are going to be very, very fun. These are ones I can't put a lot of thought into. Kyozen's going to have a lot of things, and he's mostly built to help explore certain themes. These specific themes are the themes of anger, grief, Some are vengeance, but lots of grief mainly, and just dealing with emotion, helping let go of certain things and certain events. Kyozen will have a bit of anger and definitely a bit more of a vengeance, similar to Sasuke, but he will not become like Sasuke. He's sort of a what if Sasuke had was more accepting, was more and better able to listen to those around him, and didn't go all just didn't go all abandon everything that I already have in my life that I don't really appreciate all that much, and all just to get revenge on the guy that killed my family. That's kind of what Kyozen is. That's not to say that he doesn't still want to. He is very similar to Sasuke in some regards. He just doesn't go to the extremes that Sasuke does. That's the main difference. Um, as a matter of fact, he will become a very vehement opposition towards Sasuke in pretty much a lot of conversations in Shippuden. And he is not going to be very friendly towards the Sound Village either, due to the part they played in his grandfather's death in the Konar Crush, and that's already enough spoilers right there. But Kyozen's meant to explore certain themes such as grief, depression, anger, vengeance, and the toll they take on people, the toll that they will take, but also helping to heal from these events and help to move on, not necessarily forgive, as well as and not nor forget, and not even just fully heal, but more so just move on from that pain and letting it. You're not getting rid of it entirely, but it's sort of just allowing it to fade a little bit, so that it's not as present in the front of your head, in the front of your mind. That's the point for Kyozen. And he will definitely have a big part to play later on in the story. However, he is not. Again, he's going to have a very big part to play, but he's definitely going to be more of a supporting character. He will be doing a lot of supporting for Naruto, especially. His personal relationship towards Naruto is very much that of like an older sibling. He'll be one of the few people that's almost like a sibling to Naruto, though early on he will be very similar to Iruka in the sense of anytime Naruto does something stupid, he'll bop him in the back of the head, say, "What is the matter with you? Don't you keep saying you want to be Hokage? How the heck are you going to be Hokage if you keep doing this?" He's going to be like an He's going to be like that Asian parent. He's going to be like that Asian parent. Like, look at Sasuke. He an orphan too, and yet he has 3.0 GPA and has two jobs, and he same age as you. Why you so? Why you a failure? He's not gonna be like that, but that's the joke. He's gonna be very. He's not gonna compare to Sasuke, in fact. But he's gonna be like, "Why are you like this? Look at everyone else. You can do better. I know you can. You come this far without a support system. I know you can do better. I know you, Naruto. You can do so much better." I'm being a bit over dramatic on this, admittedly. But point being, he's definitely one of the few people that's actively supporting Naruto. Though Naruto gets annoyed with him, it's like, man, come on, why you gotta be so hard on me? Because I know you can do good, Naruto. That's basically the conversation. He's similar to Iruka. Um, and again, now by the time that Kyozen is in part one of Naruto, by the time we meet him, I'll go ahead and give a bit of a spoiler here. Kyozen is a Kyozen is already a Chunin. Because, again, being a bit older, Kyozen had already passed the previous year's Chunin exams. Because Naruto's Chunin exams is the second Chunin exams of the year. Kyozen took the first one earlier in that year, so he's a brand new, fresh Chunin. And we'll actually see in one of the early chapters, um, the one of Kyozen's very first Chunin missions. Um, Kyozen, again, he's a Chunin, so he's definitely a bit more higher rank. But again, he very much believes in Naruto. Something also I'll give here. Part of the thing that Kyozen does, this will be the last spoiler I give before I end this video. Part of Kyozen's thing early on is that very similar to Naruto, and I'm actually going to have it be a case of this is where Naruto gets the idea to wear goggles. Kyozen also wears goggles because they protect his eyes. He does it for two reasons. One, it's to hide basically he was at his grandfather's house at the Fuma compound when the Uchiha massacre took place. So he was not part of the massacre. He was not killed. He was lucky. So, but as far as he knows, he and Sasuke are the only survivors. Sasuke, because he showed up late and seemingly Itachi just knocked him out and booked it because he didn't want to because he didn't want to draw any more attention than he already had. But also because and Kyozen, because obviously he was in a completely separate compound surrounded by dozens, if not a little over a few hundred other ninja that Itachi was not willing to take on after just killing almost the entirety of the Uchiha clan, barring himself, Kyozen, and Sasuke. However, on his grandfather, believing that on the off chance that Itachi didn't consider Kyozen and Uchiha, chose to hide Kyozen's eyes, because Kyozen also tended to hide his eyes normally as well, because his Sharingan didn't manifest too often. He didn't normally pop them. He wasn't showing them off all the time. Yes, he had them very early, but he but especially under his father, he learned to control that. So while he can do them on command, he chose not to, and that's partly because he just didn't want to deal with the other Uchiha who didn't treat him very nicely, but also he just had very little reason to spam them and use them for everything. Something that his father and his grandfather taught him was don't rely on them. Don't only rely on them. Don't get so reliant on them that if for whatever reason something happens and you can't use them, don't just rely on them. Use them, yes, but don't only use them. Use other things, learn how to fight without them. Then learn to fight with them. So for a while, he did so, and he mostly just trained under his father with his eyes. After his father's death, he does it in private, with doing lessons he remembers, but he also allows himself to grow more he basically throws himself into the rumors of he had no Sharingan, he's maybe not even a full Uchiha. Obviously, he isn't full; he's only half. But he may not even be Shokaku's son. While he still claims to be, he plays up the fact that he doesn't have a Sharingan. Not everyone believes it, but he is more than fine playing into the idea that he doesn't have any. Because again, he doesn't want Itachi to jump him. He's trying to hide, trying to stay out of the limelight of that. So one of the ways he does it is he has a pair of goggles that are heavily tinted. Like a similar style to Obito's in terms of like it's one clear thing. Like I don't have a pair, but uh basically has goggles that's like one clear section of glass kind of thing, kind of like the science goggles you wear in laboratory settings. Actually, let's see, science safety goggles. It's like this. He has goggles that are very similar to these, which again is very similar to Obito's. Because remember quickly, let's see, kind of like this. Very similar to which is again very similar to these, right? So he has those, and they're very heavily tinted. This is so that when he needs them, and he does this mostly to hide if he does use his Sharingan, he'll put them down, turn them on. It's also for a practical reason that he sort of uses as an excuse, which is I use them to cut for when I'm so that I can flash bomb and smoke bomb freely and not have to, so he doesn't get anything in his eyes, and so that he doesn't get like anything like smoke, or if he's using explosives like paper bombs, doesn't get rock shrapnel in his face. And flash bombs again, so he doesn't get blinded. So that's the heavy tint, and again the smoke, so it doesn't get in his eyes and irritate it. That's his explanation for it. Not everyone believes it, though. He has given them to people and had them use a flash bomb, and yeah, no, it covers like over half the flash. So you still see spots with these things on, but you can significantly fight significantly better with these using these when dealing with a flash bomb when compared to someone than if you weren't. So you'd be like fully blinded if you have your eyes open, versus having these on with your eyes open and you're only like half blind, which is significantly better than full blind when it comes to fighting. So yeah. Also, the little gap thing was because recording ended. I had to do another one. Sorry. Point being, so yeah, that's what he does with the goggles. Again, not everyone believes it. Not everyone believes him, but it seems good enough. So that's what he tends to do. And eventually, this is going to be something he just disregards altogether eventually, and he'll fully embrace the fact that he is in Uchiha. And that's part of what this story is also him kind of growing into his own and accepting everything, including a few uncomfortably hard truths that he doesn't necessarily want to accept, such as one section of it being he's more kin to Sasuke than he realized, and that's something that's going to bug him a lot later on. But you'll see that later on in the book. Now, I'd say this is a good place to end the recording because otherwise I'm going to have to start talking about stuff that I'm wanting to save for the books. I say books. I want to save for later in the book for you guys to see because I want it to be a surprise. So for now, I'll bid thee adieu. Have a good night, guys. Garden of Stories signing off. See you, peeps.